What is up, Netrunners? Welcome to PeachHack. My name is Ben, and we're actually already in the game, so I'm going to make this intro quick. Today I've got with me Aaron. How you doing, Aaron?
Thanks for having me back, Ben.
It's good to have you back, and I accidentally started the recording of this game after the first turn, so I'll just go through this quickly. On the left, we have Mike, who is running as Gabriel Santiago, who gets 2 credits for running HQ the first time he does that, and he's running against Michael, that's not going to be confusing, who's playing as Argus Security, brand new Order and Chaos ID, where every time the runner steals an agenda, they either have to take a tag and 2 damage. On the first turn, Michael played an ice and got some money, and then for Mike's first click, he ran HQ, I think, and hit a snare.
Michael is snaring fools already in typical Michael fashion, who is probably the best Wasteland player I've ever gone against, so no surprise to see him trying to kill runners with his Argus Security deck.
Yeah, and Michael scoring out a hostile takeover on his second turn, giving a bad pub, and getting some money.
It's really interesting to see how he's leaving R&D open. I mean, this is a style where you really want to bring the runner in to get them scoring the agendas, to either get them to start piling up the meat damage or the tags so you can presumably go in for the kill.
Yeah. Mike pointing out that he's using these little kind of clear token things for his 5 credit tokens and uses these little green pebble things for his 1 credit. So if you're wondering about that, it's kind of hard to see the clear thing. But, Aaron, okay. You have played against Michael quite a bit in terms of Wasteland. How do you feel like is the best way to play against Argus? It seems like a very scary corp to play against.
Yeah, you have to pace yourself because every one of their servers, in my experience, has looked wide open. Sometimes they'll play things out in the open, unprotected by ice. And the temptation is, let me go multi-access or let me do this. But the reality of it is that effect triggers every time you score an agenda. And I assume Michael's playing a pretty high density of agendas. So if you don't take your time, you're going to get yourself killed against this ID.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple different archetypes. Some people go for like lots of one-pointers, sort of a Wasteland version of the Genteki 1,000 Cuts, damage you all the time deck. Or a more standard, I think, like Seesaw Scorch mid-seasons type deck.
And I know Michael, I think he likes the mid-seasons. I'm curious to see whether he or how many of them he's playing, but Traffic Accident's a card that I'm curious to see how the Argus builds are incorporating that. Clearly you want the set of Scorched Earth, but curious to see what kind of numbers people are running for Traffic Accident.
And Mike does pull a Project Atlas off the top of R&D and just opts to take 2 meat damage rather than a tag. I think this is last click. You don't want to maintain a tag versus Wasteland.
That makes sense. That is a scary place to be with a full grip of cards.
Mm-hmm. He was able to get a bank job off of that empty remote a while ago, catching up a little bit. But I think we're finally here. We got a Jackson Howard for Michael.
And this is a good idea to be playing against Argus, in my opinion. I mean, Gabe keeps the money flowing, and Argus does not typically have heavily iced servers. They just have enough to make you think. And so I think Gabe, if you're trying to avoid, to your point, the mid-seasons, the seesaws, I mean, Gabe's a good idea that can keep up from a money standpoint to keep you in safety range.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so key to stay up on money if you're playing against Seesaw Scorch mid-seasons. Because if you got money, then that acts as a sort of protection against that initial tagging because you can beat their traces.
Yeah, I really like some of the new ice. I mean, Checkpoint, I don't know if Michael's running it, but, all of the ice, it kind of lets you in, but it really makes you think twice. And if you try to start beating traces, and we have another agenda scored here.
Yep, hostile takeover for 2 bad pub for Mike now. And on one hand, I'm happy to get a bad pub as a runner when the corp scores a hostile takeover. On the other hand, I'm looking out for Archer.
And if I remember, there we go. Ben, it's almost like you played this game before.
I actually wasn't expecting that. I couldn't remember if there was Archer in this or not.
I think Michael, I've played against this deck. I actually think he does run some cards. I think maybe he runs a Witness Tampering to deal with the bad pub. Yeah, it's interesting because I when I first saw his build, I didn't know whether it would start to pile up to the point where traces weren't effective, but I do think he has some ways to mitigate the bad publicity.
Very interesting. Ooh, and we have a Sneak
Door time. Perfect card for Gabe.
Yeah. Gaining credits, and he's got that 2 bad pub. He can trash all sorts of stuff. Oh, I can use that pub to steal an NAPD.
Yeah, and I think the only way that Michael, even though I know that's an agenda where he's probably not looking to score, he just wants to drain your money and set up the kill. But it's interesting if he ever has to score that out. I can understand why the bad publicity, something like a Witness Tampering, would help.
Yeah, and I think he's deciding whether he wants to take a tag or the 2 meat damage right now. I think he took the tag and then cleared it. I think that's probably the right decision with only 3 cards in hand.
That makes a lot of sense.
But he is getting kind of low on money. You might want to look out for, a mid-seasons here or something. Well, okay.
Well, Ben, you're calling this.
I swear.
I know you produce these games on the front end, but you can certainly play-by-play it with the best of them.
Well, okay, so we do have mid-seasons that cost 5, and looks like Michael's putting 6 onto that. So it's going to be a trace 12, which will be either 5 tags if Mike spends all his money, or 12 tags if he spends none.
Yeah, you're tagged at this point. I mean, there's no coming back from this. There's no point in playing around it. I have no idea whether Mike is running Plascrete, and I've actually been adopting. I've had worse for situations like this. But at this point, you're tagged, and there's no sense in trying to let the game get out of control and try to start moneying up and clearing tags. You just have to hope you can somehow disrupt Michael from getting enough meat damage to kill you in a turn.
Now, he does have 3 credits, but it looks like he doesn't have a Scorch in hand. I mean, Michael's at only 3 cards. If he had the Scorch, he would have had the win right there. But it looks like he did not. Even if I've had worse in hand.
Yeah, and I've talked with Michael about this. I know this is why he likes mid-season so much, is that C-Source, you have to have the kill on the spot. But mid-seasons, if you've got money at a point, you can leave enough tags to where you can really kind of take your time in assembling the combo pieces you need to get the kill.
So at this point, if you're Michael, I guess you've got to be thinking, I've got to win now. You've got 4 points. It's just a matter of time until you're dead. He's probably going to be, I imagine, digging for a Plascrete. Hopefully he has one, or a paper tripping. That would be awesome.
Yeah, and that's the tough part. Is I know a lot of the criminal decks don't pack a whole lot of draw power, and especially the Gabe deck. So it's kind of tough because you're going a card at a time to try and get there. And if you're running maybe one Plascrete, it's kind of tough to get there. But I think maybe trying to do an inside job and maybe try to shut down this archer, that may be the best way to go, is just like you said, to race and try and pull as many agendas as you can and just take the tags every time and hope you can win fast enough.
And it looks like there was no inside job, though, or excuse me, no shutdown. We do have Jackson being trashed out of hand. I wonder where the agendas are at this point. I mean, Michael is digging pretty heavily, presumably looking for a Scorch. I think he has a traffic accident in hand. So all he needs is Scorch, traffic accident, as long as there's no Plascrete on the table. Assuming Mike isn't running, I've had worse, which is maybe a weird splash for criminal. I don't really know yet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've actually started running 3 of them just for the purpose of it gives you draw in the matches where you're not worried about meat damage, but then in the times you need it, you have 3 of them in hand, so it prevents the kill. Exactly, in my Gabe deck.
That makes sense, yeah. The question is Michael running that or not? He installs an inside job, or excuse me, same old thing. Goodness, these cards.
Yeah, and maybe one thing, I mean, since he's tagged at this point, if there's a way he can go ferry into a count siphon on HQ, I mean, if Michael doesn't have the money to kill him, then, I mean, obviously traffic accident may put a dent in those plans, but he can't get the Scorch if he doesn't have money.
Yeah, even double traffic accident wouldn't kill. You'd have to have 3 of them if you're poor.
Yep.
And I do see for sure he has 1. Now, there was an account siphon that went into that heap, Mike's heap, for, I think, immediate damage when he stole an agenda a while ago. So, I mean, he can get it with the same old thing. So, yeah, I mean, the trick is just shutting down the archer in some way, being able to get around it, at least for a turn.
I don't know if Michael's running Beanstalk in his deck, but I think at this point, if I can see a Scorch in his hand. If he's got Beanstalk into Hedge Fund and then kind of sits around and he's got the kill in hand next turn, I don't think there's a whole lot Mike can do about it.
You know, I also think that Mike needs to shut down this Jackson because Michael is spending basically all of his turns digging with Jackson to find the kill pieces.
I agree.
I mean, he's staying at 3 credits, and he's got, like I said, he's got the traffic accident. He just needs the 3 for the Scorch to secure the kill.
Yeah, Michael, I've played against him enough times. He's very patient with Jackson. You know, he makes you run at Jackson. He doesn't use him prematurely, so I think you really do have to put the pressure on because every time he hits it, he's that much closer to assembling the Scorches in hand, and that is not where you want to be at this point with no Plascrete on the table.
Yep. So, Mike just had a quick phone call there a second ago. This is why we sped it up. But I think he was figuring out what he wants to do at this point. He does have the inside job, so he could go in and kill the Jackson. Or he could inside job into our archives. to force the Jackson pop in case there are agendas in there.
Yeah, I actually like that play as well. I mean, with the same old thing on the table, I think you got to do something at this point to get Jackson out of there.
Yeah. Private contracts in the remote, kind of just wasting a click for the runner. No way he's going to spend 5 to trash that when it's unresed. Checks R&D, no res. Oh, and it's a Scorched Earth. That's the Scorch that Michael is waiting for. And inside jobs on archives, just in case there's an overabundance of agendas.
I think that's a solid call.
And Michael is checking, and
looks like a heap of ice.
There's absolutely no. Oh, there might be an NAPD there, I think. He's deciding if he wants to pop Jackson. Yep, he will. Bunch of face down cards. Yeah, ice and
take the other Jackson, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Jackson that was trashed. And of course, Michael doesn't know that winning card is on top, and actually he's going to shuffle, so he's not going to be able to see that Scorch that was on top of the deck.
That's right. He'll never know.
So it could be a little bit longer. Actually, we see a Scorch on the bottom of the deck now. We'll see how well it gets shuffled. But and yeah, at this point, if you're Mike, you're probably just kind of clenching your butt cheeks, hoping that he doesn't draw anything.
Yeah, I can't see whether he's got a traffic accident in hand. We saw the one Scorch, or at least I remember seeing it earlier. So I think he just needs one more piece of meat damage in the form of a card, and he's there.
Yep. Oh, and he just drew a Scorch off top.
Lucky.
First, the traffic accident. Cost none to play, and it's discarded by the court.
Yeah, you could just go ahead and discard all of those, I'm sure.
And then there's the Scorch. No, I've had worse in hand, and that's going to be game. Michael takes it, murdering the face off of Mike with bombs. And
Michael
cars.
doing Michael things.
Yeah, Michael's been doing really well with Argus recently. He's always sort of been that Wasteland player.
Yeah,
and he really enjoys that.
Glad to see Argus making its way into the meta. It's a fun, I think, improvement to the Scorched Earth meat damage archetype. So fun to see a win here.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, thank you for joining me.
Ben, thanks for having me.
And we're going to be moving on to Game 2 of Round 4 here in a bit. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching. This is PeachHack, logging off.